Okay, I want you to listen to this because it's one of the most unbelievable true stories you will ever hear. It's a story about love, about loss, and about the sheer raw power of human will against an obstacle that seems absolutely impossible. It's the story of a man who literally moved a mountain. I mean, seriously, can one person move a mountain? It sounds like a riddle, right? Something out of an ancient myth or a legend. Is it even possible for a single human being with their own two hands to take on an entire mountain? The answer, and this is what's so incredible, is yes. This one did, and this is his story. So, to really get what this man accomplished, you have to picture the problem he was up against. We're talking about a massive, colossal wall of rock that literally cut a whole village off from the rest of the world. Let me take you to Gaylor. It's this remote, pretty impoverished village in Bihar, India. And for the people living there, their entire life was basically defined by this giant mountain range that stood in their way, isolating them. Yeah, and don't picture some little hill. This thing was a 300-foot-tall mountain range. Just try to imagine that, a huge barrier standing between you and pretty much everything you need to survive. And here's the brutal reality of what that meant. You need a doctor, you need food, maybe even just water. The only way to get there was a grueling 70-kilometer trip around the mountain, a journey that, way too often, was the difference between life and death. You see, this mounting wasn't just an inconvenience. It was a constant, looming threat. And for one man, that threat became a heartbreaking reality, and it lit a fire that started this impossible mission. That man's name was Dashrath Manjhi. And one day, his wife, Fagunia Devi, was bringing him his lunch. She was crossing that same treacherous mountain path she'd probably crossed 1,000 times. But this time, she slipped, she fell, and she was badly, badly injured. So Dashrath did everything he could. He rushed to get her to a hospital, but that 70-kilometer journey, it just took too long. By the time they could get her any medical help, it was too late. Fagunia Devi died. And she didn't just die from the fall. She died because of the distance that mountain created. And right there, in that moment of just unimaginable grief, he found his purpose. He made a promise that no one else in his village would ever suffer the same way. So what did he do? He sold his goats, bought a hammer and a chisel, and started a mission that absolutely everyone around him thought was pure madness. Just think about the timeline here. The commitment is just staggering. He started in 1960. He wouldn't finish until 1982. That's 22 years, day in, day out, just him and the mountain. And the obstacles he faced, I mean, they were just unbelievable. His entire toolkit was just a hammer, a chisel, and a crowbar. That's it. His own neighbors, his fellow villagers, they mocked him. They called him a lunatic. He had to endure scorching heat, monsoon rains, constant hunger, and he did it all completely alone. This was so much more than a physical fight. It was a psychological war against doubt, against loneliness, against all odds. You know, his own words really say it all. He said, "When I started hammering the hill, people called me a lunatic. But now, people walk through my path and call me the mountain man." What a transformation, right? From being ridiculed to becoming a legend, all because he never, ever lost faith. And so, after 2 decades of just relentless, back-breaking work, the impossible happened. The mountain finally gave way to the will of one single man. Seriously, just let that sink in. 22 years. For some people, that's an entire lifetime. For Dashrath Manjhi, that was the time it took to keep a promise he made to his wife and to his whole village. So what did all that work actually achieve? Well, he single-handedly took that 70-kilometer journey between the 2 local areas, Atri and Wazirganj, and he shrunk it down to just 15 kilometers. Think about that. He didn't just carve a little path, he literally connected his people to the outside world. And just look at the final dimensions of what he built. He carved a road that was 360 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 25 feet high. Again, all with a hammer and a chisel. This wasn't some tiny little footpath. This was a road, carved right through solid rock by one man's sheer will. Now, Dashrath Manjhi passed away back in 2007, but what he created and what he stands for, that's truly immortal. His legacy is quite literally carved in stone. So the man they called a lunatic was now revered as the Mountain Man. He became a national hero in India, this incredible symbol of determination, proving that one person's resolve can overcome just about any obstacle you can imagine.
His story really becomes this powerful, universal reminder, It's not about having incredible physical strength or tons of resources. It's all about the unbreakable, unshakable strength of the human will.
And that really leaves us with one last pretty important question to think about. Dashrath Manjhi faced a literal mountain of rock. But we all face our own mountains, don't we? Obstacles in our lives that seem just as impossible. So I guess the question is, what's yours?